Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lugal's World. Just to update, please, if you want some personal one-on-one readings, sign up for Patreon. So the link is in the description. Please, if these videos, please support us and get some one-on-one readings. We have for only $22 per month. You can get 2 readings, one astrology and one tarot together. So Isaac, tell us about what's happening in the heavens. Give them your cosmos weather report here.
Yeah. So the intention of the community we're trying to create here, it's spiritual based communities, I guess. So we want to, when we do these things, we want to give very practical spiritual advice, which we can implement in our own lives, locally, in our communities, in our own little fishbowl, in our own little third house fishbowl, you might say. So yeah, and I was sort of looking. We're in the last week now of the zodiac season, I guess, the last week of Pisces before we move into Aries. And I see this as it's a ceremony. It's a week of ceremony. I think the end of Pisces, so moving out of the final stage of the cycle of the zodiac cycle, it is this idea of releasing what we've gained, what we built up over the entire zodiacal passage, I guess. And I love when I sort of got into the fit stars and the nakshatras, the Veda nakshatras, I sort of saw the correlation between this time of the year and the underlying fit stars, I guess. So the sun's it's sort of moving towards the end of tropical Pisces and into Aries, but it's right now sort of in the midst of sidereal Pisces. And the archetypes here are really deep and very ceremonial as well. So we have 2 nakshatras. The first one is called, they're both Bhadrapada. So Purva, Bhadrapada. Purva is first, and then Uttara, Bhadrapada. Uttara is last or after or latter. So we have these two lunar mansions or nakshatras basically in the transition from sidereal Aquarius into Pisces. And that's where the sun is now. And so every time we come to the end of the solar year, which is the sort of end of March, we're also passing through this deeply ceremonial sort of lunar stage as well, which is really cool. So you can see how those two those archetypes line up. So Purva Bhadrapada is very intense. It's probably one of the most intense nakshatras. Just sort of seeks out intensity wherever it goes and creates intensity. It's sort of like, so let's say sidereally we're going from Aquarius to Pisces, which is going from our lasting legacy in the collective to the Piscean retreat from the world. And so Purva Bhadrapada is sort of like leaving the collective and just like tossing a match behind you as you go to sort of just like take things down as you go and sort of like, like almost like burn things to the ground as you leave. So it's this very sort of fiery, transformative archetype of going from the collective into the sort of 12th house Piscean. And then Uttara Bhadrapada, which is what I call sort of the deepest waters of Pisces. It's the deepest, most significant graves sort of lunar archetype. And it's about taking the intensity of Purva Bhadrapada and finding the enduring truth, the enduring meaning of that intensely transformative process. And so together, these 2 nakshatras are symbolized by the ceremonial bed or the deathbed. So very Plutonic, very far, sort of this fiery Pluto energy. And so right now the sun at this point in time every year is passing through these nakshatras as we get towards the end, towards the solstice, and then towards Aries season. So that we're in there now. And so I'd encourage people to look at this next week as a ceremony and create your own ceremony over the course of this week. And then bang, we're into Aries season, and then suddenly we've got April and Aries eclipse.
Who should we dedicate the ceremony to, Mars?
Who should we dedicate this ceremony? So let me run through.
Earth and Neptune.
Yeah, so I think initially Neptune. There's going to be a definitely Neptunian theme of like transcendence and embracing the dream state. So the first key conjunction we have coming up is on the 17th. So when we're recording this in 3 days' time. So yeah, the sun will conjunct Neptune. basically right at the final degrees of tropical Pisces. And again, obviously in the midst of, so we've got Neptune in sidereal Pisces, Neptune in this really deep waters of Pisces right now. So it's a different way to look at all this Neptunian energy that's floating around. So 17th, it's almost like enter into this ceremonial dream state that you'll then occupy over the course of this ceremony that you're conducting in your own life. So embrace the dreams, embrace this sort of fantasy and this pull towards escapism, but in a healthy way, in a conscious way. Just embracing, how can you create a dream state in your waking life over the 17th, and then in this period of time, so to sort of transcend yourself above everything that's going on in the world. I think that's the power that Sun putting a spotlight on Neptune. But essentially, Neptune is very elusive, sometimes deceptive, almost seeks to subvert the archetype that it's in conjunction with. So the Sun on Neptune is almost like, I saw it as like powers of invisibility. The Sun's there on Neptune, but we can't see Neptune. So can you utilize your powers of invisibility during this stage, during this ceremony, without escaping too much? Still, you're still in the real world, but just really, lean into this vibe. So that's the 17th. And then we have on the 18th to the 21st, we have Mercury. So mind, intelligence, rationality, but then articulation and communication. So that's our second theme of this ceremony of this week. So yes, Neptune, dreaminess, transcendence, but Mercury provides this counterbalance of focusing on thoughts, words, modes of communication, which allow this ceremonial energy to be channeled or to be expressed. So Mercury will conjunct the North Node Rahu on the 18th, and this is future focused, purposeful, future focused. So we're leaving stuff behind. So words and thoughts, which are future focused. So I want to articulate these things and take these intangible Neptunian things, give them a bit of structure or coherence, and then put them out into the world to leave them behind, to put them on. And then we have Mercury, so that's the 18th, and then on the 21st, Mercury will conjunct Chiron. So now we're turning this into this idea of like the ceremony turns into a cleansing process of getting rid of this trauma. So Chiron is the wounded healer. So the healing process starts with acknowledging where the trauma is, getting to the root of that, saying this is it, and then releasing it, and then the healing starts. So we're going to have this Aries Chiron eclipse on the 8th. So this ceremony, we're getting into our Chiron first, getting in there, rationalizing it, saying, okay, this is what it is, and then articulating it, communicating. So the ceremony will have a very communicative, it will be a communication ceremony in some way. People can work out how that might sort of manifest in their own lives, but Mercury has to be, central to this. So Mercury is going through the North Node, then through Chiron, so articulating this trauma, letting it go, utilizing this deep Piscean energy, and leaving it behind. So, utilizing this North Node energy of moving forward towards a clear purpose, a clear life mission. And then we have this interesting conjunction. So this is the end, just as we're going into Sun in Aries and into Aries season, we have Venus and Saturn conjuncting. So that's the final stage of this ceremony. So Venus, feminine principles, values, desires, romance, relationships, optimistic view of life, very similar to Jupiter in that sense. But Saturn, so we can look at it in the bad way as, a test or trial, the great adversary coming in. But Saturn is mastery, passing a test. So the Venus-Saturn cycle, passing tests of our values, of our desires, and then leaving them behind. Leaving things to the South Node that we don't need, leaving them there, and then moving forward into Aries season. So that's our little closing chapter on this ceremonial week that we have in front of us. And it just so happens that the Venus Saturn conjunction will be exactly sextiled by Jupiter. So Jupiter just brings a higher minded, spiritual, enlightened vibe to the end of this. So yeah, I would, just to wrap things up, because we did ramble a bit there, we have this ceremonial week, this final week of the zodiac, of the solar year. And we have these really fun, I think, conjunctions, these archetypal conjunctions to lean into, to flavour our ceremonial week. Neptune, Mercury, Chiron, articulating trauma, and then Venus, Saturn to bring things home as the final thing. So yeah, hopefully people can integrate that and create their own personal Piscean ceremony, and then let us know how it goes. As always,
Yeah,
comments.
get out sacred medicines, everyone.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah, everyone have a magical evening or day. Peace.